In a world much like ours, there was a superhero named Max. He had been a hero since he was a young man, fighting crime and saving lives wherever he could. Always putting others before himself, always fighting for justice. But there was one person who could match Max's skills and intelligence, one person who always managed to stay one step ahead of him, his arch-nemesis, the supervillain known as Raven. Raven was unlike any villain Max had ever faced. She was cunning and clever, always seeming to be 2 steps ahead of Max, but despite their constant battles, Max found himself drawn to Raven in a way he couldn't explain. There was something about her that he couldn't resist, something that made him feel alive. As the years went by, Max and Raven continued their never-ending battle, but they also began to develop a strange, complicated relationship. They would often find themselves drawn to each other, even in the midst of a fight. They would sometimes even team up to take down a greater threat, always knowing that they couldn't fully trust each other. Eventually, Max and Raven's relationship turned romantic, and they fell deeply in love. They knew that their love was forbidden, but they couldn't help themselves. Max would sneak away from his fellow heroes to be with Raven, and Raven would sometimes join Max in his heroic pursuits. Their love only grew stronger when they had a son, whom they named Jack. Max was worried about the future, about the kind of world that Jack would grow up in. Max and Raven decided to break up, knowing that it was the right thing to do for Jack's sake. They agreed to share custody, each taking Jack for 1 week at a time. When Jack was with Max, he became his superhero sidekick. Max taught him how to fight crime, how to use his powers for good. Jack loved spending time with his dad, and he loved being a hero. But when he was with Raven, he became her supervillain henchman. Raven taught him how to use his powers for evil, how to cause chaos and destruction. Jack loved spending time with his mom, and he loved being a villain. Max tried to keep their conflicting ideals from affecting Jack, but it was hard. Jack grew up torn between 2 worlds, never quite sure where he belonged. He loved both his parents deeply, but he didn't know if he could ever reconcile their differences. As Jack grew older, he began to question his own identity. He wasn't sure if he wanted to be a hero or a villain, or if he even had a choice. He loved his parents, but he couldn't help feeling like they had set him up for failure. One day, Jack realized that he couldn't keep living his life this way. He realized that he didn't have to be a hero or a villain to be happy. He could forge his own path, make his own choices, and live his life on his own terms. Max and Raven had done their best to raise a good, strong, independent young man. And so, Max and Raven continued their never-ending battle, but this time, they did it with a sense of peace.